everybody, it's Emily at ARC Schooling, and today I thought we would talk about some reading stats thus far this year. So as of today, it is April 12th. It was about 3.5 months in, so I thought it'd be fun to do a check-in and talk about where I'm at in my reading, with my reading goals and challenges and all of that. So I have my handy dandy bullet journal here that I'm going to use to keep track of things, and I made some notes. So let's talk about where I'm at so far. So as of right now, I have read 30 books, which is kind of why I wanted to do this right now, because that's like such a nice round number that I was just pleased that we could talk about a nice number like that. So 30 books total read so far this year. And I kind of went through and divided it out to see, like, genre-wise, what am I reading? I have 5 genre distinctions here that it sort of works. So for fantasy and sci-fi, I've read 7 books. 20 of the books I've read were historical. 12 of them were middle grade. 3 were graphic novels, and 3 of them were horror. A nice mix, but you know, it's heavily geared toward historical. That is my most read genre. But I do want to push myself this year to read more horror, because I always say horror is a favorite genre of mine, but I feel like I don't read enough of it to really say that it's a favorite genre. So I'm trying to force myself to explore other things and read new things. It's one of the reasons I really wanted to get a Nightworms subscription, was to give me more options for horror that weren't just like Stephen King, which is my go-to. I wanted to branch out and read more things, read more women authors and that sort of thing. So off to a decent start there. It could be better though. Now let's move on to my reading challenges and goals. One of my goals, it's a goal every year, but it's to read my shelves and try to force myself to read the books I already own instead of reading new releases or ebooks or audiobooks and things like that. I want to read what I have sitting on my bookshelves. So far this year, I have read 12 books off my shelves that were there for a while. So these aren't books that I've recently bought. These are books that have been sitting on my shelves for a while. So I've read a dozen. Could be better, but I'm working on it. Now I want to talk about reading challenges. I am doing 2 reading challenges this year. I'm doing the Build Your Library reading challenge, and then I decided on a whim to do the alphabet challenge. I don't know where I heard about it. I wish I could credit somebody, but I have no idea where I discovered this challenge. But basically you're supposed to read a book for each letter of the alphabet, and I just thought that sounded fun to do. So I have 2 spreads in my bullet journal. I have my Build Your Library reading challenge here, and I have the alphabet challenge right here. So basically I just keep track of those 2 challenges, and I make note of when I read things in my journal. So let's go through both of them. So for the Build Your Library reading challenge, there are 40 prompts in total, and I have read 11 of them. So I'm pleased with that. I mean, it could be better, but this point in the year, I'm not specifically looking for books to fit these prompts. I'm more just whatever I'm reading, I look to see what I can use for a prompt. Once we get more into the second half of the year, then I'm going to start okay, I really need to read this book. So I try to find things to fit, but I'm not there yet. So I'm just going to run through and tell you which ones I've finished, and I'll put a picture up for the books because I just did not have it in me to go pull everything off my shelves. So I read A Story with Magic that was not Harry Potter, and for that I read AMARIS and the Night Brothers. I read a book that was a portal fantasy, and it was Come Tumbling Down by Shauna Maguire. I read a book about a sport or a game. I read The Button War by Avi. I read a book set in space, and for that I read Project Hail Mary. I read a book that was about a life very different from your own, and for that I read Inside Out and Back Again. I read a book set during a war, and for that I read Fly Girls. I read a book with an animal protagonist. I read Bad Bella by Ali Standish. I read a memoir or biography. For that I read The Light of Days. I read a new release. I read Beautiful Little Fools. I read a book that had a suitcase or a backpack on the cover. I read Just a Girl. And I read a story about immigrants. I read The Last of the Name. So I have written in pencil like ideas for things I could still read to hit other prompts, like for example, for a book by a favorite author, I have two options. I'm either going to read Roxy by Neil Shusterman, or I'm going to read The Last Tutor by Philippa Gregory. I don't know which way that's going to go. I'm kind of leaning towards Roxy right now because I haven't picked it up yet and I'm just really curious about it, and it's Neil Shusterman and I'm kind of in the mood for that more than I am a Philippa Gregory. I haven't read a Philippa Gregory in a while. I don't know what that's about, but I should probably read something sometime soon. So I'm feeling pretty good about where I'm at in this challenge. I have a few things that I was planning on reading anyway listed here, and so I don't know. There's probably still going to be a couple where I get stuck, like a book set Under the Sea. I don't know what I'm doing for that yet. I have no idea. I'm kind of blaming Sarah, and I'm not going to let her do that anymore. She always puts this challenge, and it always throws me off my game. So then, for the alphabet challenge, I'm feeling pretty good about this one too. I've read 13 out of the 26, so I'm like exactly halfway. I'm feeling good about that. There's probably going to be a moment of panic when I hit like the X and the Z. I don't know yet what that's going to look like, but I do have a couple options, I think, for the X. I don't know what I have for Z. I'm going to have to figure that one out. However, I'll tell you what I have read. For A, I read Amari and the Night Brothers. For B, I read Beautiful Little Fools. For C, I read Come Tumbling Down. For F, I read Fly Girl. For G, I read Great or Nothing. For I read Inside Out and Back Again. For J, I read Just a Girl, A True Story of World War II. For L, I read Last of the Name. For M, I read Mouse. For O, I read Opie's Ghosts. For P, I read Project Hail Mary. For S, I read Solving for M. And for W, I read Waif. So I'm doing pretty well with that one. I'm pleased, and I'm hoping I complete it. That's basically where I'm at. I'm also keeping track of like my favorite books of the year. So I'm also doing a 2022 reading bracket. It's kind of a hot mess, but it's fine. I'm really the only one that really looks at it, so it's not that big of a deal. But I'm keeping track of like my favorite book each month. And so I've only got January through March listed now. Although I do have a tentative favorite for April that I'll show you. My favorite book in January was Project Hail Mary. I just think this was like the most fun I've ever had reading a sci-fi novel, and I want more things like it. I've discovered this year that my favorite kind of sci-fi is cozy sci-fi. I like feel-good science fiction. I like stories where everyone gets along, where we meet other like alien species and like discover that they are friendly, where we like, I don't know, solve problems but in a happy way. I guess that makes sense. Like, I like cozy stuff. I loved this. I really like Becky Chambers books. That's also what I consider cozy sci-fi. So that is just my jam, I've discovered. So nice to learn new things about my reading tastes. My favorite book in February was Beautiful Little Fools by Gillian Cantor, and this was just fantastic. I cannot shut up about it, and I want to read everything she's ever written. This book was just phenomenal. This is a retelling of The Great Gatsby, but from the perspective of the women, and you get like their backstories, and the ways she just like works in this murder mystery into their storyline was just perfection. My favorite book in March was The Light of Days. This is by Judy Battalion. This is nonfiction about the Jewish resistance from women during World War II, and it was fascinating. I loved this. Was it the best written book? Not exactly. I don't think it was poorly written. I just think it was a little bit scattery in places where it could have been better organized. But I learned so much stuff and learned about these women who I'd never heard of, and I should have. And I just thought this was great. I did a live show discussion of this if you want to go check that out. Now, my tentative favorite this month. I've been struggling since March with my reading. I'm in a bit of a reading slump, and I keep pulling myself out and putting myself back in. I don't know, but I loved this. This is A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. I've had this on my shelves for years and finally decided this was the time. I'm in the mood for horror. I'm gonna read it. And oh my gosh, you guys, I absolutely loved it. And that was a huge surprise because possession stories are not a thing I typically enjoy. Like, I read The Exorcist when I was like 12, and I enjoyed it, but more for like the shock factor, like freaking people out when I would carry it around places. But like, I don't remember like if ever in my life like claiming any kind of possession story was a favorite. So I did not really expect to go into this with like that I would love it. But you know, there you go. And I don't know that I would actually call this a possession book, but I'm not going to go into detail there because I feel like this is the kind of story you don't really need to know a lot going in. I loved the sister dynamic in this. I loved the characters and like how they related to each other. I just thought the way this was structured was really interesting and fun, and I don't think I've ever read anything quite like it. So, loved this. This is tentatively my favorite. I have half a month left, so something might surpass this, but at this point in my reading slump, I'm not sure that that's true. I don't know. Do you guys do that where you read something amazing and then like nothing else compares and you just keep picking things up and nothing is working? That's where I'm at right now. So I don't know. I don't know, guys. I've picked up so many books this month and just went nope. And I don't know what I'm looking for, but I'm still hoping I pick up something great. I'm hoping that the next thing I pick up will be a new favorite. I don't know. I just want to read something great. I want to read another 5-star. So that's the other thing I didn't mention. How many 5 stars? I feel like I've had a lot of 5-star reads this year. I'm sorry this is not as organized as some people are. I'm not that organized. Let me back up because I should have done this at the beginning, but I'll tell you my star ratings thus far this year as well. So I've had 13 5 stars and I've had 13 4 stars. So that's interesting. And I've had 3 3 stars and only 1 2 star. And I don't give 1 stars. If I don't like a book, I don't finish it usually. I don't think I can't recall too many books that I've hate read to the end. So 2 stars is usually like my lowest rating. And actually this was a 2.5 star. Make of that what you will. but I feel like I'm having a good reading year overall. I'm just like, I need to get out of this slump. I'm sure I will, but until then, I must suffer. So that's where I'm at right now with my reading. How is your reading year going? Are you doing any challenges? Let me know down below in the comments and we can chat. Let me know, what is your favorite book you've read so far this year? I think if I had to pick one of these books, it would be a tie because I'm a brat like that. I can't just pick one, but it would probably be a tie between these two. So far, these are the books that I've like loved the most, that I feel like I've like screamed about the most. So yeah, so let me know down below, what is the best book you've read so far this year? I'd love to hear about it. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.